So we've been wanting to build Griff a workbench
Yeah, you
for a
want to
really
put something
long
in the
time.
vise?
This Christmas we finally got around to it. I searched the internet for examples of different workbenches, and what I found was a lot of workbenches that didn't quite fit the bill. Lots of them seemed to be look kind of funny or different than what I wanted them to look like, not quite as authentic as I was looking for. Some of them looked great but were maybe a little too simple, and others were the builder went far beyond what I wanted to do. I'd been wanting to build a Paul Sellers style workbench for myself for a really long time, so I went back and looked at his videos and I thought that could be exactly what I wanted to build, and that's what I ended up modeling after. I'll put a link to Paul Sellers' series in the show notes so you can see how it's actually supposed to be done, but if you're in the market for building a workbench, I couldn't recommend it more, and I think Griff would give it a recommendation as well. It's fantastic. I had some basswood that I'd found at an auction. I'm not much of a carver, so it had just been sitting there for a couple of years. So I thought I would go ahead and use that for his workbench because it would have a nice even color to it, super simple and forgiving to work with, and would probably work well for him. So I jointed up the material, started cutting it to rough size, got it milled basically so I was ready to do some work. The next step was gluing up the top and the aprons. I went ahead and planed the edges so I'd have a decent glue line, and then I went ahead and glued them up, both tops and both aprons at the same time, to save myself a bit of time. The next step was to move on to the little bit of joinery that was in the workbench. I went ahead and measured and cut the legs and the cross members to the same length and marked out for the mortises. Having a mortiser makes this step go incredibly fast compared to when I was chopping things by hand. I love my mortiser. It's a little teeny jet, but it's just having one makes things so much faster. So once I get the mortises cut, I went ahead and used those mortises to mark out where exactly where the tenons would be on the cross members. I cut my tenons on the table saw to save myself time. They're really small tenons though, so it would be super easy to cut them by hand if that's all you had. I glued up the legs, each as their own little sub-assembly, just to make it simpler for when I put it all together. I just screwed the top on with spack screws, just to hold it tight. I didn't want to glue it up because I wasn't sure if I was ever going to want to replace it or not. Probably not, but just in case. When it came to putting on the aprons, I had a lot of trouble putting them on by myself. I'm not nearly as skilled as Paul Sellers, so I had Deb help me out. Then I went ahead and drilled the holes for the vise and put the vise on. We had company in town and a bunch of other projects going on at the shop at the same time, so somehow I never got footage of the final product before we moved it out for Christmas Day, but I was really pleased with how it looked before I did any of the sanding or final planing on it. It just came out perfect for a 3-year-old. Christmas morning, he wasn't really sure what to do with it. He went ahead and laid on it and pounded on it, did a bunch of other things on it, but by the end of the day, he figured out exactly what he wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
These days, I think his favorite part of it is the vise. He uses the vise a lot for holding wood or whatever still while he puts his bolts that he got for Christmas through the holes. However, the most common use is a stable platform for building with his blocks. Not quite a woodworking bench yet, but hopefully it will be someday. So that's it for the video. Hopefully you found it entertaining, and if you think somebody else might find it inspiring, be sure to share it with them too.